Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rebel, busy man shit, nigga. They take their head off, nigga. When Eve did the Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no hoe lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert. Another cop just stress the nigga. He ain't demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers can they spin, I ain't listening. Is effective. If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. Style war, we gon' run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young guy. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? What he saying something, I ain't hear. This shit light work. It's about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. Free shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody won't be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow side, yeah, this the rim McCoy. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get it, boy, lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like a hell boy.
Clap it up. All right, shalom. Welcome to our viewers, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whichever media you're on. And welcome to our Sunday afternoon scripture breakdown. This is ISUPK Jamaica, started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Run to the by Commanding General YAHANNA. All right, now, this week, we got to jump in on Easter. Why does Easter coincides with the Passover? Now, some people who is uneducated in the whole creation of the Most High and His world, really, will say that, you know, the Passover came to be coinciding with Easter. Because Easter came from Ishtar, Tammuz, all the way back to Mesopotamia before we became a nation. So they will have a tendency to say, but these gods were being celebrated and these things were being celebrated long before the Israelites came about. But I would ask you, did they start celebrating those gods of fertility before the Most High made Spring. So which one came first? Spring or the gods of fertility? I have to see it from that end, because spring, the Most High made spring. Man look at spring and realize that the earth is being renewed at this time. You know, every creature put out young at this time. Flowers bloom, the bees start buzzing again, the ice start melting, the climate change. So in other words, the earth goes through a period of renewal. So they would have a tendency to look at it and say, this was being celebrated before you people became a nation. But the Most High created it that way for a purpose, to show you the cycle of life. Now, he gave us this period of time, not for worshiping this period of time, but to mark the beginning of days. All right. Here the first thing you search me. Hey, Shalom, Officer Kayado, no? What's up?
Shalom, sir. Yeah, Basham Shkata. Yeah, THAWADAH, sir.
Yeah, Basham.
Yeah, go on. Easy, you know.
Right. All right. This shall be the beginning of days. Where we find that again?
Can. 1 second.
And this shall be the beginning of days unto you. I think it is in Exodus.
Can. Beginning of months.
Months, right.
Exodus 12 and 2, sir.
Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. And it says, David?
Can, sir. This is the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year.
All right.
Mommy.
All right. Which of the there is one of the writing that name it as Abib. Which of the name it as April, which is Abib.
We have Deuteronomy, sir, 16 and verse 1. It said, observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
Deuteronomy 1?
16 and verse 1.
All right, so it specifically tells you in Deuteronomy 16 and 1 to observe the month of Abib.
Can. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God.
So that was instructed unto us. Because it's quite obvious what happens in that month. The renewing of the earth happens in April, in the month of Abib. So from the scriptures, they tell you, observe the month of Abib. Observe, not worship. So you're not going to worship to do this. So the only thing we do is celebrate the Passover there. All right, take me to Deuteronomy 5, 6 to 9.
Can. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 6. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Verse 7. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Verse 8. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water beneath the earth.
All right, so
verse 9.
Tell you what, no, right there. Telling you that that is the Lord our God. He brought us out of the land of Egypt. He brought us out of bondage. And thou shalt have, and we should have no gods before him. And thou shalt not make thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven. Heaven above, earth beneath, or that is, and this heaven is talking about up there in the sky, like the clouds, the sun, the moon, the stars, those things.
Right.
Or on the earth, as in the river, the mountains, anything like that. Things where you make from your hand, man, woman, child, and not like that. Make no image of anything on the earth, or anything in the waters. Fish, anything, nothing. You should have no graven image before. All right, take me to, you have your Zandovan, right? Right, search for Queen of Heaven in the Zandovan. Because this is one false god that has been plaguing our people from as far back as Mesopotamia. From way back, before we became known as Israelites, when Abraham's kindred was living in those regions, Mesopotamia, in the land of Oz and Ur and so on. He says to us that we should, there was no law then, but there was slavery, right? In Mesopotamia, you had slaves. Who you think were the slaves? That time we were known as Israelites. We were known as what's the term in the scriptures again? Not children of God. Sons of God. But then we were known as sons of God. But like the scripture tell you, Abraham's household all fell into idolatry, and the Most High pulled Abraham out. So, and then he went to live in Mesopotamia for a while and came back. And then he called him from Mesopotamia. he was kicked out of the land of Or, went into Mesopotamia, and then Moses called him from Mesopotamia, and he found his way in Egypt. But back in Mesopotamia now, you had a god of fertility that was celebrated or worshipped at this period in time of the year. Because in the same way you today realize that the earth is made renewed at this time of the year, they back then in Mesopotamia realized that too. And every kingdom realized that. The Romans, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Akkadians, and I think Akkadia became Babylon and Egypt. Sorry, Babylon and what's the name of the other one again? Assyria became Assyria and Babylon. They realized that too. They had their god of fertility. Even in America today, they have what them call it again? Lady Liberty.
God.
The Roman have their god of fertility too. And the latter there is Roman. You know, when the Christian Rome, you know, brought in them same ancient gods, and then they get Mary, became Mother of God.
God.
And I think Christ on the cross, being raised from the dead, they put that as Tammuz. But from the time of Ezekiel and Jeremiah, the Most High has been telling us not to do those things. As a matter of fact, that's why he told us, he's the Lord, I am the Lord thy God, I have no other God before me. Because he knew that we were prone to these other gods. And it was always the other nations who pushed these false gods on us when we are in captivity. All right, you have the Zandovan Queen of Heaven.
Kan.
All right, read.
Kan. This is the Zandovan Pictorial Bible Dictionary, and it says, Queen of Heaven. Some controversy surrounds the philology and significance of the title, but it seems best to regard it as the female deity to whom, with their families, aid, and connivance, Hebrew women made offerings.
Connivance.
The most likely identification is with Ashtoreth, goddess of love and fertility, synonymous with the Assyrian and Babylonian Ishtar.
Right. So why Assyria and Babylon have it as Ishtar? They get it from Akkadia, I think, which came down from Mesopotamia. Go on.
Kan. And the Roman Venus.
Right, the Romans used that same Ishtar as Venus. They just call him Venus. But it's the same god of fertility. Go on.
The cult, the wailing for Tammuz was associated with her cult.
All right, so Tammuz is the same thing. But the Tammuz worship now was done in two parts. One was the wailing for Tammuz, and one was the fertility side. We're going to look at that to go on.
Kan. Its ritual was the license and obscenity characteristic of the Eastern fertility cult. Ever a temptation to the Hebrews, and the chief objective of the prophets' attack and paganism.
Right. So it is something that came from it's older than any. There's no country today that is as old as humans worshiping the Queen of Heaven, Ishtar, or in brief, the god of fertility, female deity. There's no cultures today that is old as old as that. If you look at ancient Babylon, ancient Rome, the Grecians, the Egyptians, this was a worship before all those times. All right. Give me Ezekiel 8:12-14.
Gun.
In Ezekiel, you realize, all right, Ezekiel was a prophet that was sent to, remember after the kingdom was split into the northern kingdom, which was the Israel, the 10 tribes, and the southern kingdom, which was Judah and Benjamin. Both kingdoms celebrated the Queen of Heaven. You know. Ezekiel was sent to the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes. Jeremiah was sent to the 2 tribes. And both of them spoke about the Queen of Heaven in different names. Because in Ezekiel, he spoke of the same god of fertility, but the name then was Tammuz. In Jeremiah, was it Jeremiah? So Jeremiah was the one that was sent to the southern kingdom. Jeremiah called her, in Jeremiah time, they called her the Queen of Heaven. That was the southern kingdom. All right, so take me to Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 12-14.
Gun. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 12, and it says, then...
Put it on the screen.
Gun. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say, the Lord seeth us not. The Lord has forsaken the earth.
All right, so
verse 30.
Like I said, house of Israel, that was the northern kingdom. So Ezekiel was saying unto them. So the Most High was revealing unto Ezekiel what the older people was doing. That's why I call them the ancients of the house of Israel, because they were the older people who should have known better, because they would have known of the story of the Most High leading us out of Egypt into the promised land, and them gaining land inheritance where they are living. But they are the ones now who was doing this thing unto other gods. Read on.
Verse 13. He said unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see.
Also.
Verse 13. He said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination that they do.
Thou shalt see greater abomination. So what that they were doing, the Most High referred to it as an abomination. Read on.
Right. Verse 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz.
Women weeping for Tammuz. That was happening in the house of Israel.
Right.
Now, this was Tammuz was that same god of first fertility. All right, we're going to pull something from Encyclopedia Britannica. Let me send you the link. Now, in the Encyclopedia Britannica, it explains what there it is. It explains the weeping of Tammuz. You know what aspect of that worshiping was called and who done it, because there was role that men play and that women would play. So you have it, Encyclopedia Britannica. Because Tammuz.
So okay, start read, sir.
Hold on. Tammuz was, you have a picture with Tammuz.
Sorry, I hear me?
Khan, I hearing him. Tammuz was a deity from way back in Mesopotamia.
Okay, Khan.
All right, so start root now. Tammuz in Mesopotamian religion. Go ahead.
Khan. Tammuz is Mesopotamian religion. Silakia, in Mesopotamian religion, god of fertility, embodying the power of new life in nature in the spring. The name Tammuz seems to have been derived from the Akkadian farm Tamuzi.
Hold on. The delay is that bad, man. All right, so in Tammuz.
There's a delay, still like yes, sir.
Yeah, man said the delay is bad, man. So Tammuz was a Mesopotamian deity, and Tammuz was known as the god of fertility all the way back in Mesopotamia. Read that. Go on.
Khan, right from the Akkadian farm Tamuzi, based on early Sumerian Tamu Zid, the flawless young, which is later standard Sumerian because Dumu Zid or Dumuzi. The early known mention of Tammuz is in texts dating to the early parts of the early dynasty, third period, 2600 to 2334 BCE. But its cult probably was older.
Much older.
Although the cult is attested for most of the major cities of Sumer in the 3rd and 2nd millennia.
Right. So it goes far back. It goes as far back as Sumer, which is Sumerian.
It centered in the cities around the central steppe area, the Eden.
Right. So this was Tammuz. Tammuz was a city god. So Tammuz was mainly worshipped in the city. Read on. Hello. Read on, Kayaba.
Salakia, sir. You hear me now?
Khan, I hearing you. Read on. All right. I don't know what happened. So let me read that. You continue reading and taking your turns. So, okay. Hey, Shalom, sir. Yahaba Shimon Shabrakata.
Yes, Ramir Shravata. The image that you have up now, right? It marking 55. So you might have to change that now. 55th and Passover. On the screen.
Yeah, I know it is saying that.
Yeah. You don't want to send the wrong message because I know it's 56. I remind brothers and them as well that that's down at the school down here now. Yeah, so yeah, so
Okay. So you're back now, Kayadon.
Yeah, can one sir. Salakia about that.
All right.
so
I
everything
hear you.
again.
I hearing you on point now, but you're a little lower. But anyway, Mike can work with it. Hey, so far so good, you know. Still making preparation for a weekend.
The preparation. Right. I done up in the zone already, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're still making preparation, man. But, everything is in anxiety until Saturday.
All right. Yeah, well, the way all this
Anxiety
beast
kill you till Saturday.
yeah, the way all this beast rolling, you can't, no delay on anything. So be well, as I say, wise in everything that you're doing right now. So.
All right, so we can read and continue reading Officer Kayadon.
Can. Yeah, hear me?
Can I hear you? I should be able to put this thing fully with a full thing there now. Hold on.
Full screen.
Hold on, man. We can get a better view. Oh, this take us off totally.
Try the one to the right. Yeah, that two up.
That one, all right? But you're not seeing us. I want to put us in the picture.
Yeah, I have it from my end.
Oh, that one. No, that was what we had. What's the best one we can use to give us a little bigger thing there? All right, if that's it, then just read. Just continue reading.
Okay.
You hear me? Kind of, you're mute, so we're not going to hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah, so like, I was a glitch a while ago. Something went wrong. Yeah, hear me now?
Yeah. Can.
Yeah, hear me now, sir?
I hear you.
Slack, yeah, I have some net problems and there seem to be a lag. All right, if you want to put it back, you just choose the option that you chose before.
I mean, this one?
There's, hold on.
It's either that one or you could go full screen. That would take us out the picture. But I think we would still be hearing. Well, let's work with this one. Work with this one. And that one big.
But sir, you send me that link. It's a different article.
No, it's the same one.
It's a different article. This are the same one.
Same one.
Oh, all right. Can. But his cult probably was much older, although the cult is attested for most of the major cities of Sumer in the 3rd and 2nd millennia. It's centered in the cities around.
Yeah, you're reading
I can't see what is on the screen, sir.
You can't see what is on the screen? Put up your thing, put up what you're reading.
Yeah, may I read from mine? Go on.
So it's not on the screen. Yeah, it's your one on the screen. Mine not on the screen.
Hold on. Yeah, can. All right. It's centered in the cities around the central steppe area. The Eden, for example, at Bat Tibera, modern Medina, where Tammuz was the city god.
Right. Read on.
As Slack. As shown by his most common epithet, Saipat, shepherd, Tammuz was essentially a pastoral deity. His father, Enki, is rarely mentioned, and his mother, the goddess Tutor, was a personification of the Yu. His own name, Tumi Zid, and 2 variant designations for him, Amaga, Mother Milk, and Ululu, multiplier of pasture, actually was the power for everything that a shepherd might wish for. Grass to come up in the desert, healthy lambs to be born, and milk to be plentiful in the mother animal.
All right, so you see now, it's telling you that pastoral deity. What you call the leader of your church today? What you call the leader of the church?
A pastor.
Right, so that's where it's coming from. What's in the pasture? The sheep. So,
right,
the whole naming and thing come. They just plastered today's. As we know, the earth today is plastered with false god. Idolatry is in everything. Right. So, him being a pastoral deity, meaning a god from the pasture. The pasture as in where you raise your animal. Because the mother was shown as a female goat or sheep. When you come down to things, when they talk about, come down to Rome now, they talk about one of them what them name again? The two brothers who was grown by the female wolf.
Romulus and Remus, sir.
Right.
Romulus and Remus.
Exactly. Who was grown by a female, nurtured by a female wolf. Come all the way, whole thing come from idolatry. All right, read on. I want to get down to where then talk about weeping for Tammuz.
Garwan Khan, when the cult of Tammuz spread to Assyria in the 2nd and 1st millennia BCE, the character of the god seems to have changed from that of a pastoral to that of an agricultural deity. The text suggests that in Assyria and later among the Sabians, Tammuz was basically viewed as the power in the grain, dying when the grain was milled.
Right. So it became now an agriculture god, god of renewal, or god of fertility. Go on.
Garwan Khan. The cult of Tammuz centered around 2 yearly festivals, one celebrating his marriage to the goddess, the other his death at of demons from the netherworld. During the 3rd dynasty of Ur, 2112 to 2004 BCE, in the city of Uma, modern Tel Joka, March, Uma's month of the festival of Tammuz. During the Isin Larsa period, 2004 to 1792 BCE, the text relates that in the marriage rite, the king actually took on the identity of the god, and thus by consummating with a priestess incarnating the goddess, magically fertilized and fecundated all of nature for the year.
All right. So this now was what? If you notice, it comes about the whole thing starting the same period from February to what? It says February to March. And you realize that from February to March, or from February coming up to Easter, February is when you have what? Ash. I think call it Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday.
Right. Begins in February. And this worshiping of this God begins in February. So, it's just the cultures coming down the line. So it mentioned during the 3rd dynasty of Ur, Abraham was from the city of Ur, or the land of Ur. So, that's what they were doing there. They were celebrating this time of year as celebrating the god of fertility. When they remember, Abraham did not have Passover to celebrate at this time. There was no Passover until we coming out of Egypt. Then we get the Passover. But all these ungodly things was being done. All right, so marriage and consummation and magically fertilizing and all those things. All right, read on. The celebrations in March.
Right.
Read on.
Kan. The celebration in March to April that marked the death of the god also seemed to have been dramatically performed. Many of the laments for the occasion have as a setting a procession out into the desert to fall of the slain god. In Assyria, however, in the 17th century BCE, the ritual took place in June and July. In the major cities of the realm, a couch was set up for the god upon which he laid in state. His body appears to have been symbolized by an assemblage of vegetable matter, honey, and a variety of other foods. Among the texts dealing with is Dumizi's dreams, a myth telling how Tammuz had a dream presaging his death and how the dream came true in spite of all his efforts to escape. A closely similar tale forms the second half of the Sumerian myth, the descent of Inanna, in which Inanna, Akkadian Ishtar, sent Tammuz as her substitute to the netherworld. His sister Keshtinana eventually finds him, and the myth ends with Inanna decreeing that Tammuz and his sister may alternate in the netherworld, each spending half of the year among the living. Tammuz courtship and wedding were a popular theme for love songs and Neanderthal verse compositions that seem to have been used primarily for entertainment. A number of true cult texts, however, follow the rite step by step, as if told by a close observer, and many laments were probably performed in the actual rites.
Right. So this was where now they lamented for Tammuz, or in other words, weep or cry for Tammuz. So that was what?
Right.
In the time of Ezekiel, that was what was happening. Go back to the book of Ezekiel.
I see same thing we are seeing at Christian church today.
I mean, the crying. Huh? You're referring to the crying? All right, go back to Ezekiel and read verse 14 now in the same chapter.
Yeah, the crying. Can. Slakia, sir. Say that again.
Go back to Ezekiel.
Can.
You have it?
Yeah, can, sir.
Yeah, read verse 14.
Can, verse 13.
14.
This is the book of Ezekiel. Can. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz.
Right. So that was what they were doing. They were worshiping the goddess Tammuz.
Right.
And the Most High calls it in verse 13 an abomination.
Right.
Right. Take me now to Jeremiah 7 and 18.
Can one can. Can one can. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 18. The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger.
So the Most High said, this action of worshiping this Queen of heaven provokes him to anger. Now let's go and see now what was the Queen of heaven. All right, let me share this. Allow me to share it. Take down that from the screen. All right, so this is Queen of Heaven is a secular and biblical reference. A secular and biblical reference agree that the Queen of Heaven mentioned by the prophet Jeremiah refers to the goddess Ishtar in Jeremiah 7 and 18 and 44, 17 to 19, and also in 44, 25, refers to the goddess Ishtar or Astarte or Astoret, cf. 1 Kings 11 and 5, a Near Eastern goddess of fertility. All right, let's see what 1 Kings 11 and 5 says. See if it refers to that.
Can one can.
First Kings 11.
This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 5, and it says, for Solomon went after Astoret, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
Right. So Ashtoreth here, Solomon, that was what caused Solomon to fail. Solomon worshipped the strange gods of his strange wives. So, you know, in the church, they tell us that Solomon was punished because he had many wives. No, Solomon was punished because he had many strange wives.
Right.
In other words, we were told not to marry other women who were not Israelites.
Right.
Because they are going to lead to turn your heart away from God, which turns out to be true. So Solomon worshiped Astoret, which was the god of fertility. In other words, Solomon was celebrating Easter, just that it wasn't called Easter then. Right? They were baking cake to the Queen of Heaven. Zidonians, who were some Africans, were the ones, they were from Zidon.
Right.
They were the ones who had Ashtoreth as their god. Solomon married a woman from Zidonia, from Zidon, and Solomon went and worshipped the Zidonian gods. All right, let me share some picture now of the Queen of Heaven, modern day Queen of Heaven. You know, profile of Queen of Heaven. This was when now Esau started ruling the earth. It took over the same goddess and gods that the blacks, the Africans, were celebrating or worshipping. All he did was to just make them white. Come all the way down to Let's see. Mary. Portraits of Mary, Queen of Heaven and Earth. Mother of God, spouse of the Holy Spirit. Right? So that Queen of Heaven that you read about in thing there, Jeremiah, is still in the church today.
Right.
And this was how terrible it had become among our people. Let's go to Jeremiah 7. Sorry, Jeremiah. All right, Deuteronomy. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28.
Can.
So we're going to read 1 and 2.
Can. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1. And it came to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So
verse 2.
We have to put away these strange gods.
Right.
Come out of this rut that we are in. There's so much of our people dying in the street. Right. Whether we are being unalived by each other or by the cops, we're dying as a people. Why? Because the Most High is against us. The Most High come against us because we keep worshiping these strange gods. Verse 2. Verse 2. Verse 2, Kairon.
Can, verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right. So all these blessings, and then it lists the blessings below. I'll drop down to 15 and 16.
Can. Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
All these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if you don't observe his commandment. 16.
Can, verse 16. Curse shall thou be in the city, and curse shall thou be in the field.
All right, so you want to know how cursed we are in the city? Wow. Just go on a Saturday, go into any one of our cities, our town areas, and you see how cursed we are. The
right.
Flatfoot hustlers, the persons who you call the hustling, doing the hustling in the city. Who do you think doing it? You don't see the Chinese, Indian, Arab, and they're all here. But who is out there hustling? You.
Right.
Because you're cursing the city. And you look in the field. Who is struggling to plant things? You again. Because we can't put away these strange gods. The Most High said, put them away. By doing that, these blessings will come on you. But we think that we are blessed by observing these strange gods. And we have been thinking that from the time of Jeremiah. Give me Jeremiah 44.
Can.
From 17. We think that the blessing come from observing these strange gods. And it is not so. You observe these strange gods, what you are doing, you are worshiping these nations who give you these strange gods. And these nations who give you these strange gods, they are the ones ruling over you because they give you your God. You got it?
Khan.
Read on.
This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 44 and verse 17. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, but to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, and our princes, in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
Hold on, put it on the screen. Put it on the screen. Let me take
that.
Move that. Right, read on.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine.
All right, go back to 17. Scroll up back to 17. We certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth. Why did they say that? Scroll up and you see why them say that. Because the Most High sent Jeremiah unto them. I'll tell you where to start from. Go to, all right, if you read verse 1, the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Jews which dwell in the land of Egypt. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so read verse 1 and 2.
This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 44 and verse 1. And the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Jews which dwell in the land of Egypt, which dwell at Migdal, and at Tappaneh, and at Naph, and in the country of Pasros, saying, verse 2, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem, and upon all the cities of Judah, and behold, this day there are a desolate and
desolation.
Desolation, and no man dwelleth therein.
All right, so this was when Jerusalem become desolate because the Babylonians came in and they have to flee to Egypt and so on for succor or for refuge. So the Most High sent Jeremiah to them. Now, when we read Jeremiah, you have Jeremiah 7 again.
1 second.
Was it 7? Just open up Jeremiah 7 on a different tab. Jeremiah 7 and 18.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and verse 18. The children gather wood, and the father kindle fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger.
Right. So what they were actually doing here was provoking God to anger. And that time they were in Jerusalem, you know, and they were doing these things. And they think they were prospering. And they seem to be prospering. Just like today, people think they are prospering, ain't it? In people's mind today, what they think? They think that because they are celebrating Easter and keeping Christmas, they think that they are prospering. But that's not so. You are prospering because the Most High have not bring any wrath upon you. And God bring wrath upon the house of Israel because they break his laws, right? So
Right.
he brought wrath upon Jerusalem by allowing the Babylonians to overthrow them. So drop down to 44 now. To Jeremiah.
You mean chapter 44?
Chapter 44, right.
Read back 17.
17, right. Drop down. All right, before you drop to 17, go to 14.
Kan. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 44 and verse 14. So that none of the remnant of Judah, which are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there, shall escape or remain, that they should return into the land of Judah, to the which they have a desire to return to dwell there. For none shall return but such as shall escape.
All right. So a great multitude of them did escape at the time. And they went into Egypt for to sojourn there, or to hide there, to escape the punishment.
Right.
15.
Kan. Verse 15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt, in Patros, answered Jeremiah, saying.
So the Most High sent Jeremiah to them, warning them that when you were in the land and you were doing these things, the Most High did bring this destruction upon you because you were doing these things. Read on, next verse.
Yes, sir. If I may, it kind of indicates that the women were the ones that, you know what I mean, mostly partaking of this, just like the Christian church.
Yeah, because it's the God of fertility, or the Queen of Heaven, is a woman.
Yeah, can.
So them now, maybe them just feel good knowing that they have a woman deity.
God.
But they think that they were doing, it's just like today, them celebrating Christmas. A person who is able to put lobster and shrimp on their table, or ham during Christmas time, you can't tell them that they are not being successful.
God.
Can you?
Nah,
man, they are the most successful person. Oh, why? God bless me this year. We can buy one piece of ham. I have ham for Christmas. Which way the same law tell you don't pork. And the same law tell you don't celebrate these days. Christmas. All these things were celebrated from Mesopotamia come all the way down. So the same thing caused us to lose the kingdom in the time of the Babylonians, in the time of the Assyrians.
Right.
And while they were out there in those who did not go to the ones in Egypt, they escaped the captivity because the captivity was in Babylon. So they managed to escape. But the Most High sent Jeremiah to them. I said, better not go into the captivity, you know. So read verse 16.
Can. Verse 16. As for the word that thou hast spoken unto me in the name of the Lord, we will not hearken unto thee.
As to when you say Jeremiah, we not listen to you. Just like today. They tell us here in the UPK, we not listen to you. Why we not listen to you? Read on. Verse 17.
Can. Verse 17. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, and our princes, in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
Right. So when they were in Jerusalem, so now you're in Jamaica, you're celebrating Easter.
God.
Yeah, man. Things are going good for you. You can go celebrate. You can go jump. What you call it again? Carnival.
God.
We can go party. We can buy Easter bun and cheese.
God.
And by the way, that same Easter bun, that is the cake that was being baked to the Queen of Heaven.
God, God.
Right? It's not unclean. It's not made of unclean things, but it's made of yeast. So you wouldn't be eating no Easter bun during Passover. It's made with yeast.
Right.
So you won't be eating Easter bun at Passover. Right. If you notice, the Moses has never spoke against you baking something, that cake that they bake to the Queen of Heaven. The chastisement wasn't against the cake. The chastisement was about you giving service to this God.
This is okay for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're drawing a very valid point and all too, and this is why, the prophets at that time, played a pivotal role, and this is why, again, just as I said, ISUPK under Commander General and the men inside here play that same pivotal role again to Black people right now in this society, because now it is like you're rolling back, as we say, the hands are time, and we see the same rollback. It's playing back out. So it's like us talking to brothers and sisters out on the street and tell them, hey, what you're doing, you're going against, what the Lord set for us as a people and as a nation. And because you go against that now, this is the conditions that we face. This is condition that you face, that each and every one of us face today. And unless we, again, turn back, again, just as I said, these are the curses that will come upon us. This is what happened to us. And it's so important that you, as Black, Latinos, and Native Indians, that brothers and sisters should come back to knowing their heritage and culture. Because again, in the records, it always make mention about a remnant. It always made mention where it always had that generation or that break in that gap where we forget of the Lord and we would learn, as we say, these folk tales, all these Nancy stories. And because we learn that now, where we get that from, we get that straight from any record. And because now it's like, just, there's always use this analogy. You tell somebody this in the air from this point, and by the time it reached quite down the road, that whole story changed now. They would take, as we say, our forefathers before time, as we say, with that break in that generational gap, they would, would keep on, as we say, teaching the younger ones coming up. And then somewhere along the line, somebody go tell them, hey, we just worship fire, we just worship water. Not knowing that this was the fire, this was the water, this was where when we was coming out of Egypt, that the Most High God delivery out of the hands of our enemies and destroy our enemies by these elements. And this is why, without these instructions that we read in here, without brotherhood, as Christ say, on these two hang all the laws and the commandment, without that structure, this is what is going to happen to us. And this is why we tell brothers and sisters, hey, all come to the truth, come down to the Passover, come to the high holy days, come to these feast days, because this will help us along the way. Because you being amongst family and being around one another, this would help you revive or rejuvenate your spirit to make you know that, hey, there's always that assurance and that hope that this family is going to be built back, or the structure of the family is going to be built back. Yes, so like you.
Right. So that's the way out to get out of this.
That's right.
Come out of the idolatry. But watch this now. We're going to read on and you're going to see what these people think happened when they made the change before they went into captivity. they thought that because they stopped doing this thing unto the Queen of Heaven, then the sword was brought upon them. And I don't think there's a difference in today that, you know, I think they think this, they be thinking the same thing. Why, you know, say because we stop celebrating Christmas, why them things are happening. Cool, when we celebrate Christmas and Easter, big things go on for we, you know. I can't come tell you nothing. Well, yeah, big things are going on for you. You see some Trump put on some tariff on every single body. So the sword is coming. Just like in these days. So they think that because they were worshiping the Queen of Heaven, there were no evil coming upon them. Read verse 18.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine.
In other words, from them stop doing that, them start suffer. That's what they feel. But the sword came because they were doing it. That's why the sword came. If they weren't doing it first, the sword wouldn't reach them. But they think it was because they stopped doing it why they end up in this war. But it's not so. Verse 20.
Yes, sir. And this is because, like we say, sir, we were under, you know what I mean, another nation oppression. So we equate this to, we stop celebrating the Ishtar as, you know what I mean, as evil coming our way when it's just the Eden coming down.
All right. When they were there, you know, they weren't under any oppression yet, you know. Because if we're gonna go back up to 17.
Gun.
All right. In 17, you hear what I'm saying? When they were burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and pour drink offering to her, we and our fathers and our kings and our princes in the cities of Judah. So they were doing it with their kings. The oppression never come on them yet. They choose to go and celebrate these holidays. But who were the country that they were following? Obviously would have been the Babylonians. That's why the Most High sent the Babylonians to overthrow them, because whichever God they were celebrating, the Most High normally sent that nation to come and overthrow you. Right? So they think that they were following the Babylonians. So Babylonians, because Babylon at the time was growing and becoming powerful. Like we have China growing now and becoming powerful. What are you seeing happening in Jamaica? You see they start to talk about I think they have the celebration like up by where they have the Chinese Benevolence Center. People now start to know when the Chinese New Year start.
Yeah.
Dragon dance and all those things. So you are taking your time now and getting into the Chinese celebrations of their God. Same thing with the Indians. India is now growing on. So what are we doing now? You see more and more Hindu-based studies coming in. They start to tell you about palm reading. They start to tell you about yoga. Right? So you now start to learn about their gods. And then the next thing now, you're going to start to celebrate the Hindu religion. Next thing you know, when they do a certain time of the year, you're going to have to find a river and go at the river, go do whatever it is that they do at the river.
God.
And then after that, the Most High is going to send the sword on you. So this was what was happening in Babylon. And the Most High sent the sword. Because remember now, who was ruling then? This king who was it? All right. Was it Ahaz? What's the name of the king that the Most High gave his father 15 years to extra to live? Because the Most High said, I'm going to punish you for the things that you're doing. And him repent and went into, fell on his knees and start cry to God. And God sent back the prophet to him and say, all right, because you have a repentant heart, I'm giving you 15 more years to live. And I'm not going to bring the destruction on you, but on your son.
Hezekiah.
It was Hezekiah. And then he got a son during that 15 years. And he said, boy, this son must be from God. So I'm going to give the throne to this son. That was the worst mistake he made. Because that son reigned for 50 years. And that son did all manner of evil in Jerusalem, including bringing in this Queen of Heaven. So while they were doing that, they appeared to be prospering under that king. But the Most High had already have the punishment there for them. So when the punishment reached them now, they believe that it's because they stopped worshiping the Queen of Heaven while it came. But not so. All right, read 18 and then 19.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offering unto her, we have wanted all things and have been consumed. Verse 19. When we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offering unto her without our men?
So Jeremiah was actually speaking to the woman, but the woman said, so when we were doing it, were we doing it without our men? We have a man used to do it. You come talk to we, the woman alone. All right, read that.
Verse 20. Then Jeremiah said unto all the people, to the men, and to the women, and to all the people which had given him that answer, saying, verse 21, the incense that he burned in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, ye and your fathers, your kings and your princes, and the people of the land, did not the Lord remember them, and came it not into his mind?
Right. So when you were doing it, didn't God see it? So now because you do it while the punishment come, read on.
Verse 22. So that the Lord could no longer bear because of the evil of your doings and because of the abomination which ye have committed. Therefore, in your land a desolation and an astonishment and a curse without an inhibition as at this day. Inhabitant as at this day.
Right, 23.
Verse 23. Because he have burned incense, and because he have sinned against the Lord, and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord, nor walked in his law, nor in his statutes, nor in his testimonies. Therefore, this evil is happened unto you as at this day.
Right. So Jeremiah is correcting them. Because you didn't follow the law, that's why this evil come on you. This evil don't come on you because you stopped worshiping Queen of Heaven. Came on you because you were worshiping the Queen of Heaven.
Right.
Continue.
Verse 24. Moreover, Jeremiah said unto all the people, unto all the women, hear the word of the Lord, all Judah that are in the land of Egypt. Verse 25. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, ye and your wives have both spoken with your mouth and fulfilled with your hand, saying, we will surely perform our vows that we have vowed, to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her. Ye will surely accomplish your vows, and surely perform your vows.
All right. Before you read 26, let us read something about the Queen of Heaven. About Ishtar. All right. Let me send you. I'm going to send you in the private. Check the private chat. I'm going to send you something. Check the private chat. Encyclopedia Britannica again.
This says Mesopotamian mythology, the myth, epics, hymn, lamentations, penitential psalms, incantation, wisdom, literature, and books dealing with rituals and omens of ancient Yemen.
All right. Over and let us see some of the things that happened there.
A brief treatment of Mesopotamia. Slakia, say that again, sir.
No, so scroll up and read.
Ganawan. A brief treatment of Mesopotamian mythology follows. For a full treatment, see Mesopotamian religion. The literature that has survived from Mesopotamia was written primarily on stone or clay tablets. The production and preservation of written.
Because of those stone tablets or clay tablets, we are able to match what you read about in the Bible with these events and these cities that was mentioned. Archaeologists were able to go out and search and say, oh, there was indeed a Mesopotamia. There was indeed some clay tablets, and this was what was written on the clay tablet. Yeah. Read on.
Right. The production and preservation of written documents were the responsibility of scribes who were associated with the temple and the palace. A sharp distinction cannot be made between religious and secular writings. The function of the temple as a food redistribution center meant that even seemingly secular shipping receipts have had religious aspects. In a similar manner, laws were perceived as given by the gods. Accounts of victories of the kings often were associated with the favor of the gods and written in praise of the gods. The gods were also involved in the establishment and enforcement of treaties between political powers of the days.
So what they did
related to the interpretation.
Hold on. So like today, in today's countries, you have senators and you have your leaders, the king, opposition, and so on and so forth. When they make laws, they make it and say, it comes from their Senate or from, like in America, you have the Senate, you have Congress, and you have the what you call it, federal, is it federal government, right? But back in those time, in the ancient time, they attribute these powers to gods, which was why they were able to put in laws and so on, because when they implement laws and so, they would do it to the people as if it's coming from a particular god that they would have been worshiping. All right, read on.
Salakia, sir. You say something?
Yeah, so read on.
Khan, a large group of texts related to the interpretation, because it was felt that the will of the gods could be known through the sign that the gods revealed. Care was taken to collect ominous signs and the events which they preached. If the signs were carefully observed, negative future events could be prevented by the performance of appropriate. Among the more prominent of the omen texts are the Shuma Isbo texts, if a fetus, which observe the birth of malformed young of both animal and humans. Later, a similar series of texts observed the physical characteristics of any person. Dream omens are represented but are relatively rare. There are also omen observation to guide the physician in the diagnosis and treatment of patients. The largest collection of omen contains more than 100 tablets. It's entitled "If a City is Situated on a Hill." Salakia.
Right, so they believe in omens and connotations, and which is why when they put their gods on you, it is so hard for you to break it, because they tell them, all right, if you should worship Ishtar and bake cake onto Ishtar and thing, you will see prosperity. What's the prosperity they see? The nation will give you, they're not invading you. But we already have a law that says we shouldn't do this. So what we are going to end up doing is anger.
For me, freeze or sir freeze. Sir, you hear me?
Loud and clear. Hearing it loud and clear.
All right, 1 second.
You look like you freeze. Right. So you have these gods that they would come to you and put these gods, give you these gods to worship, and then through science they might know when the moon is going to eclipse. They would know when, just like we have the weatherman today who can tell you when you're going to get flood type rain. They could use these things and bring it and speak to the people as if Ishtar is going to send a flood and it's going to wash away all those of you who is not worshiping Ishtar. And next thing you know, like in America, you see some place flooding out. Ishtar is going to send fire and burn all of California. Why? Because you are not doing the thing that you should do. Things like those. And they would use these things to control the people. But what they were actually doing was reading science and match both. Because who can tell you when it's going to rain? The weatherman can. You go in front of a doctor can diagnose a sickness which is not fully upon you as yet. And they can use omens and incantations to use it to control you. Right? Not much different than what you have today with the Obeah. So these things were what they were using to control the cities of Judah. And next thing you know, Moses sent the sword against them. All right. Give me about 2 more verses and then 2 more paragraphs, and then we might can leave it and go to some scriptures.
Right. Gun. Yata Jeremiah 44.
Yeah, read, finish this. Read the next 2 paragraphs, and then we'll go back to Jeremiah 44.
Gun. Several types of prayers have also been preserved. Prayers begin with praise of the deity, then move to the requests or complaint of the worshipper, and end with praise of the deity for the deliverance which is expected. Other prayers were
isn't that the way? Hold on. Isn't that the way you praise
the worshipper of various maladies through the intervention of the gods? Praise a given deity. A few explicit ritual texts survive. Significant in the Babylonian New Year festival was the slack.
You know, long I've been saying holy on, I mean that wasn't going through. Man, to the really bad man. This go back up to where it tell you how they pray to these deities. Go on. Hello. Come on, man. I'm not freeing up this thing, you know, Babylon. You hearing me? Go ahead, man. All right. So what I was saying is that it's the same way. This is how they pray in the church.
I hear you, but it seems like you hear me delayed.
I hear you none at all. So, as I had said, go up to the passage that you just read, where they began by praising the God, giving praise, and then asking for something, and then giving thanks in anticipation of the blessing or the problem of what you prayed about being solved. It's not new. This is coming all the way from Babylon and Mesopotamia, way back. You hearing me? Carry on. Hello? All right, read on. Oh, man, make this thing I want real bad. All right, so this now Sumerian tradition, blah 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 blah. Further to the Kishi evolved, however, into a more complex character surrounded by myth, death, and disaster. Others of contradiction. Hey, I don't like your freezing. You know?
Yeah, but back now, sir.
Right, so go back to the verse, the passage that you read before this.
Can one can. So okay, 1 second. Yeah, about the prayers.
Yeah. Several types of prayers.
Can
Right,
one,
that part. Praise of the
can one
deity.
can.
Right, so prayers began with praise of the deity, then move to the request or complaint of the worshipper, and then end with anticipatory praise of the deity for the deliverance which is expected. Same thing happened in the Christian church. Other prayers were conjuration to rid the worshiper of various maladies through the intervention of something. All right, scroll up some more and continue reading.
Can one can. Several other stories from Mesopotamia deal with the theme of immorality. In the myth of Adapa, Adapa was summoned to the gods because he had brought the wings of the south wind. Due to the warning of his divine father, he refused to eat or drink the food of gods offered, which granted him immortality. A different type of immortality stated in the story of Itana, the king of Kish, who was without children. In order to reach the plant of birth, he freed an eagle from captivity and rode its back to heaven.
Right, so that is myth. All right, read on.
Can one can. Can one can. Other Mesopotamian myths include the story of Atrahasis, a wise man who was saved from the flood after being warned by one of the gods to build a ship to save himself. The myth of Ishtar. I know what that them are talking about.
Right. But the story of Noah was indeed known in Mesopotamia.
Can one can.
Read on.
Can one can. The myth of Ishtar descent and return from the underworld was evidently connected. Hold on. Slack, sir. Jump a while. The myth of Ishtar descent and return from the underworld was evidently connected to the cycle of fertility. The story of Nargal and Ereshkigal told how Nargal became the ruler of the underworld. The Epic of Ira explained how Marduk, the god of Babylon, left the city in charge of other deities, which led to the destruction of the city. The epic end with the return of Marduk and the renewed prosperity of the city. The work, Let Me Praise the Lord of Wisdom, has been compared to the book of Job and described the suffering of a prince abandoned by his God. Praise to the god Marduk, because the focus, Slakia, becomes the focus when the situation is later reversed. Slakia, was that them for them interpretation of Job?
Right. Because remember, it wasn't every man who was alive by then and studying would have known about the flood, because it was Job and his 3 sons, and then the families of the earth now split among those 3 sons. You have the Japhetite,
Salakia, Noah, not Job, Noah.
Sorry, Salaki, not Job. Noah. The sons of Noah would become known among all the families of the earth at that time. So the flood would have been known. So they would have been telling stories about the flood. But these stories that they tell, are stories to keep their people in check, to keep them worshiping these gods, and to keep them what's the word you're looking for now? You need people to behave themselves so you can rule over them, so to speak. Right? So these stories and these gods were used to keep these people social, so that they are not warlike. If you can't rule over everybody want to war. You remember Haiti at a time when every ruler going there, the coup take them out. A country can't run like that. So they use these gods and the mythologies to keep the people in check, which seem to work for their time. But these gods weren't doing anything. These were events and things that they read about, which many of it was scientific, and they interpret it as if it came from other gods. But for us, coming out of Egypt, and the Most High gave us when the earth start, which month is the beginning of month. This is just natural science, not something to worship, but for us to live and understand what is out there, and know that things that are out there, like the moon, the star, the sun, the eclipse, the northern lights, the various seasons. This is just natural cycle. Which is why I said, don't be dismayed by the signs of heaven. All right, so we can continue. We can finish Jeremiah 44, and then we can go to be not dismayed by the sign of heaven. Jeremiah 44. How far already reached? 20 what?
We did finish read Slakia. We did finish read 25, I think. Yeah, 25 we did read, sir.
All right, go on to 26. We're going up to 30.
Verse 26. Therefore, hear ye the word of the Lord, all Judah that dwell in the land of Egypt. Behold, I have sworn by my great name, saith the Lord, that my name shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Egypt, saying, the Lord God liveth. Verse 27. Behold, I will watch over them for evil and not for good. And all the men of Judah that are in the land of Egypt shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine, until there be an end of them. Verse
And that was exactly what happened, because when the time come to rebuild Jerusalem, there was no one. Where the people came from? They came out of the captivity, not from Egypt.
Right.
Moses did kill them out. All right, you finished?
You say you got 30?
Right.
Verse 28. Yet a small number that escaped the sword shall return out of the land of Egypt into the land of Judah, and all the rest.
Right. So we were saying small. They weren't even mentioned, because all the people here who went back, you don't hear them mention from no one from Egypt. You heard mention of those who from the Persian Empire. The one who became governor over Jerusalem was the king's cupbearer, I think. Right, so it was those who obeyed the Lord and went into captivity. These other ones now who did not obey the Lord, the Most High did punish them same way. All right, read on.
And all the remnant of Judah that are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall know whose words shall stand, mine or theirs.
All right. All right. So all who go on, you know who for. You're going to know who is the better one, whether you or the Most High.
Right. Verse 29. And this shall be a sign unto you, saith the Lord, that I will punish you in this place, that ye may know that my words shall surely stand against you for evil. Verse 30. So
you're going to know that my word is going to stand against you for evil. You're doing evil. In other words, you did evil and you're behaving as if I'm punishing you for something else. You're going to know why I'm punishing you. Continue.
Verse 30. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will give Pharaoh Hophra, king of Egypt, into the hand of his enemies, and into the hand of them that seek his life, as I gave Zedekiah, king of Judah, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, his enemy, and that sought his life.
Right. So you see, Egypt get punished because they fled from the Lord and went into Egypt. Most I punish Egypt just because they want to punish them.
God.
Yeah. All because they want to punish them and just give fear in our hands our enemies. Because what? I must punish you.
Right.
Right. Give me Deuteronomy 28:68.
Gun. Salakia, sir. Remember, we have to touch out Charlie here. Salakia.
Yeah, man. That and then one more we close off.
Gun. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
So you see, when we survive, those of us who survived the fall of Jerusalem, 60 AD, and who made it to the west side of Africa, you know what we end up doing? We end up becoming Islam. We end up in Islam. And the Most High did send us into Egypt, into captivity. Here we are now today. And these nations ensure that these Mesopotamian gods still follow us. But it is up to us to make now that decision not to worship these gods. Give me Jeremiah 10 and 2 in the meantime. Not to worship these gods, because the punishment is real. It's not like, you know, it is just, these punishments are not fairy tale. It's not a once upon a time thing. This punishment is real, and he right through the Bible, what the Most High is trying to do is teach us not to worship these gods. Don't be dismayed by them heavenly signs. People used to look on the moon and, oh, I'm watering at the moon, and oh, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And when you see the moon full of a werewolf time, you know that little stupid thing there. Because I don't want us to get caught into those things. What he wants you to do, when it becomes the time for the earth to be renewed, we observe the Passover. That's what he wants us to do. So give me 10 and 2.
Can. Salakia, sir. It seemed like most of these superstitions came from Mesopotamia.
Every one of them have its root in Mesopotamia.
Can.
Further, and Mesopotamia was before Egypt.
Right.
Well, we have a question here. Yeah.
Just a point to make, sir. I would have heard before that it is being said, the superstition, so to speak, persons who are schizophrenic or mentally challenged, when the moon is in its full space,
I think we hear that thing there now.
Yes.
Yeah, when full moon, people who have mental problem go off. I don't know if there will be any correlation between both. Coincidence, they get trouble all the while. It's just that we think that we observe them more. In other words, we watch them more at that time. Yeah.
So is it a case then of you're looking for it to happen?
That's what I'm saying. You're looking for it to happen, so you're gonna see. Because they get off whenever, you know, but you're not paying much mind. But you're so, all right, full moon, I know. So and so get off, you know, watch it. Yeah, but they get off 2 weeks before that. You understand what I'm saying? But it's when they notice it. All right, give me 10 and 2.
Can. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Verse 3.
No, just that.
Can.
Because this is what get our people carried away. These signs that are in heaven. And these signs are just there for us to read, to navigate through the year. That's all. Know when it's winter, know when it's you're gonna get rain. Know when it's you know, because you can watch the birds and know that a storm is coming in.
Right.
You can watch the ants and know when rain is going to fall. Right? You can watch the stars or this man navigate from country to country using the stars. So these are just for you to navigate yourself on earth, not to worship.
Right.
But our people fall trapped worshiping these things with the heathens who you should be ruling over. And you let them ruling over you with this stupidity. Like when you go you go downtown and you meet, you go into some of these Indian stores. You know, when you talk to some of the persons who work there, they tell us, why the people have their idol, you know. So we
Yeah, can.
as if they have the idol, so they're going to succeed over you. Which way, what is making them succeed? You working for them for little or nothing. That's what is making them succeed. And you become obedient to them and them ways. And their ways is aligned with their God. So in essence, you become obedient to their God.
Right.
And throw away your God. And fear their God rather than fear your God. And the thing you fear is going to rule over you. That's why God said, don't fear nothing but him. All right, so I mean, we can just close it with the Passover when the Most High brought us out of Egypt and gave us the Passover. Which one we want to use? We can use the one that we start with, Deuteronomy 16:1, or we can use no, we want this one. Abib being the beginning of months. That's what we read.
Yeah, can, sir. Let me find it back.
This shall be the beginning of months unto you.
Exodus 12:2.
Huh?
Exodus 12:2.
Exodus 12:2.
Yeah, can. This is the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of month. So that you want the one with Abib, right?
I think Abib is in that one.
Sir, not this one.
All right, let me see. Let me tell you which one I'm in Abib. You sure? Read if it's in 1 or is it in 3? Chapter, verse.
Deuteronomy 16:1.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You just read what?
Deuteronomy.
What you just read?
Yeah, man. That was Exodus 12:2, sir.
Remember, Exodus. All right. All right, so read that and verse. Just read 2 and 3.
Can. This is the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 2, and it says, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So here it is now that the Most High tell us when the year begin. We don't depend on science or anything. God tell we when the year begin. It begin when spring begin. It is the first month of the year to you. That is in the Bible. So when people tell about man don't know when time, you know, like because it is so far back, man may know how to count days back then. Man has known how to count days from the beginning of time. Spring begin the same time. Winter begin the same time. And everybody know that there is, from spring to spring is 1 year.
Right.
Nobody never used to count spring as 1 year, winter as 1 year, and so on. Everybody from then, from Mesopotamia days, know that it's 13 moon give you a full year. And they have always known that. So don't be fooled by people telling you that, man, maybe you don't know when the Sabbath starts. If you know the first day of spring, I don't count day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the Sabbath. Easy as that. And mankind, you want to know, say mankind know when the year starts, or they know when to collect tax.
That's it. They don't change that.
Why they don't change the financial year? Yeah, because Esau don't play with his money. Just like in Christ's time. All right, verse 3.
Verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
Right. So we know that that is how you prepare for the Passover.
Salakia, sir.
Yes.
May I have Deuteronomy 16 and 1 too if you want it.
All right. What does Deuteronomy 16 and 1 says?
Can observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
Exactly. And there it is in the scriptures. When the Most High bring you out of Egypt. That is in the records. It happened in the month of April. So how you know tell me that you don't know when is the 7th day? You don't know when. When you read in the Bible and you read say a man lived 200 years and 500 years. It was indeed 500 and 200 years. Because they know how to count the cycle, the annual cycle.
Right.
Right? As a matter of fact, when you look at astrology, it appears as if those men were further ahead in astrology than today. You understand? So, let us not be dismayed at Esau's stupidity. See him tax everybody in the world, and $5 trillion wipe off him in Wall Street. $5 trillion. He wipe out the whole of Jamaica GDP. Whole Caribbean GDP. Wipe off him stock market.
Good.
Yeah. And that's the man we're following. But, he's trying to correct a problem which started from 1930 something. When you made your dollar, the world currency, and all you have to do is just print the money and you back up for it with inflation. Now it grows into a monster. That's the man you want to follow. So go and you shall be like him. All right, so questions, comments. What do you have to say, Officer Sawap?
Right, just a reminder for brothers and sisters that time, we up on that time, right? And again, time short, and we write the pay Passover fee, right? Again, April 12th, right? Sundown, right? The time to be, at the venue, everything is, starts at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? Just a reminder again, continue to, pay your tithes, like, share, subscribe to the page, right? Support the truth, and again, we continue to push, and, let us family come back together. Yeah.
Right. Amen. So, want us to come back together. Officer Kayadon.
Yeah, sir. Just to tell everybody to like, share, subscribe, which would be the closing. You know what I mean?
So you know that the next scripture breakdown is after Passover.
The next Sunday class, yeah, man, I know, can.
Right. So we have to say before Passover.
So before Pop, safe travel to you, sir. You know what I mean? I know you're head up, and you know what I mean. I wish everybody who attend, you know what I mean, enjoy the Passover. I know if I don't get my chance, I can't reach up there yet still, but you know what I mean. We're gonna be there in spirit. You know what I mean. And to everybody watching online who can attend the Passover, just, you know what I mean, contact the ISUPK, you know what I mean? And, you know what I mean, from the Black Hispanics and Native Indian, you know, you are invited, you understand?
Right. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native in good spirits. If you're a drunk or a troublemaker, you can't come.
Right.
You can send a donation, but you can't come. Nobody come was embarrassing us.
Right.
All right, so with that, to pass the class to Police and Officer Kayadwan. You can just read the thing there, because I know you're pushing out right away.
Got one cut. All right, that clap it up. All right, these are the ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, you can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18 and verse 21, and Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew, and is pronounced Mahishara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund free will offering for priests, not mandatory. All right, so go over to isupk.com, pay your tithes, support the truth. You understand? Upcoming Slakia, whatsoever amount you'd like. Upcoming Holy Convocation, we're talking about the Passover, which is April the 12th. You know what I mean? This Friday, sundown. Am I correct, sir? Friday, right?
So,
Friday, sundown.
Saturday, sundown.
Saturday, sundown. You understand? April the 12th. So make sure, sir, you know what I mean? If you're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you can make it to the Passover. Reach out, you know what I mean, for instructions, all right? Reminding Akiam and Aquatiam to check on social media such as isupk.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in school, then he's to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, Silakia, what you say, sir? Courtesy salute.
Right.
Gun. All right, we're going to give one courtesy salute to Officer Abadawan, men of Israel, Imadium. Imadium Shabbat. Imadium Barak.
Yahweh
Yaramata. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters, Tsar, which means turn and face the sisters. Men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium Barak,
Yahweh
Yaramata, class dismissed.
Yes, but maybe she could talk again.
All right, that much more travel at town. All right. So, Kairon, you'll take it out, right?
Can one can, sir. But they are searching Passover.
See you soon, sir.
Yes, you know.
Right.
All right, to everybody watching, remember to like, share, subscribe, depending on the platform you're watching on. You know what I mean? Classes are on Sunday, 3 p.m., Tuesdays, 9 p.m. No, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. You have the Wednesday, 7 p.m. Tuesday, you have the podcast, The Conflict Zone. You know what I mean? 9:30 p.m. And on Friday, we have the Breakdown podcast. 9:30 p.m. And with that, shalom.
Christ, this Officer 5000, Jeremiah, the camp leader of Atlanta. Passover 2025, starting April the 9th, we got the lamb slaughter. April the 10th, we got General Muhammad's class. April the 11th, we got the black party that's going to have the Hebrew graduation. April the 12th, in Atlanta, Georgia, the 56th annual Passover, the only Passover under Commander Junior Hunter.
Our great and holy King have honored us for turning our lives from the darkness to the light, man. There's no greater gift you can receive than to wake up to the truth and then commit your life to saving your brothers, man. That's right. Looking in their eyes and seeing their faces and seeing what they've suffered and what they've gone through and seeing the end of it, man. It is a guaranteed seat in the kingdom of heaven, man. So in the name of our King Yahushua, do we dedicate us another Passover of brothers and sisters' lives being saved?
April the 13th, we got the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Shalom.